Howdy do, partners. What we're going to do next is work on a bass line. So we have this available track here. It's one MIDI. It's the first track. And what we're going to do is load up a bass sound. So within your instruments folder, in analog, if you have analog, there's a nice sound. This sound here, it's muted bass 2. Wow. And we're going to double click it to load it. And when you double click, make sure you've got the right MIDI track selected. Otherwise it's going to load on a track that you don't want it on. So, okay, I've been thinking of a bass line. I've been working on it. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to record in a melody or a bass line. And this is what we do. All we do is click on the record button there, or any of these record buttons in any of these clip slots, and that's going to start recording for us. Now remember, with the metronome we have a count in, and I've selected 1 bar. Now you can activate the metronome if you want to hear it, but you don't have to, because in this case we already have a beat, so we don't need that. We can also set the quantization. So right now it's on 1 bar. And we could set it to say 1/16 or 1/8 if we want it to quantize all the notes as we play them in. But for this one, what I think I'm going to do is show you a different way. So I'm going to leave it set to 1 bar. Or in fact, I'm going to set it to none. And we're just going to hit record and start jamming. Ready? Here we go. Okay, so what I did there is I stopped playing and then I pressed spacebar to stop. And what we can now do is double click on this new MIDI clip, and you can see in the MIDI clip editor that it's continued on past the start of the 9th bar. So the length of this MIDI clip is longer than 8 bars. And what we can do is set it by either hovering our cursor over here and dragging this bracket in. That is one way to do it. Or if I press Command Z to undo that, we can just go down here in our MIDI clip editor, and the note length is set to 8 bars, but 1 beat and 3/16. So we can change that to a 0, and automatically it changed it to 0/16. And now it will loop over perfectly. See how that looped over? That's great. So what we can do now is double click here where the magnifying glass is, and now that's just reset the length of this MIDI clip editor. So I'm only looking at bars 1 through to 9, and you can see that we're zoomed out a bit too far on the piano roll. So what you can do with the piano roll is there's a magnifying glass there. You can click and drag left or right to zoom in or out, but another way is to just double click on it, and then from the highest point to the lowest point of your MIDI clip editor, it's displaying the highest notes to the lowest notes. So that is wonderful. And we didn't quantize anything, so it's badly out of time. But what we can do is click in the MIDI clip editor area here, press Command and A to select all, and then we can press Shift Command and U, and this brings up the quantization box. And you can quantize to the current grid. You can quantize to 8ths, 16ths, 16/3, 30 seconds, whatever you like. So I'm going to quantize this to 16ths. And you can choose whether to adjust the start point or the end point or both. And then you can set the amount. Do you want to quantize it 30% towards being completely correct? 62%? I'm going to go with 100% because this is a bass line. I want it to be really locked in and dialed in to be perfectly landing on the right notes. So I'm going to click OK. And now let's take a listen. Okay, so it's much better, but we still need to change things. Like this note needs to be nudged a little bit, so I just grabbed it, selected it, and pressed the left arrow. This one I want to extend. And what you can actually do there is you can select the note and then click on legato, and that will extend it out as far as it will go. So we can do that here. If I click on this and press legato, see it reaches out further to the point of the start of the next note. So that was just for a demonstration purpose. What I might do here is play this again and listen carefully to see where we need to adjust. So I want to bring up the velocity of the first note, maybe bring down the velocity of the second, maybe bring this one up, bring this one up, and if you click on the headphone icon again, the Q button, you'll be able to listen as you move notes around. So I'm going to bring these up a bit. Okay, I'm going to extend out the length of this one. That was a bit funky there, but it kind of is an accidental, a happy mistake in a way. Let's try out this. I don't know about that. It could work, but for now I think I'll keep things simple and do this. We can actually just double click in there to draw in a new MIDI note. Make that one longer, this one longer, this one longer. Okay, so we've got a simple bass line there. Now I'm hearing quite a lot of variation in these notes here. So what I might do is just click in the piano roll area, just click here, press Command A to select all the notes. And I'm going to just bring the level up, the velocity up. Adjust the volume. Cool, so we've got our first bassline idea down there, and what you can do with all of these different clip slots is come up with different bass lines, quickly record them in, and then adjust them if you need to, like I did, to get it, you know, perfectly in time if you want it that way. And then you have all these different musical ideas. So what you can then do is trigger different scenes by pressing these play buttons on the right. And that's going to help you to figure out what sounds good in terms of, okay, play this bass line first, and then move on and play this bass line next. And so you're just going to create all these different ideas and sequences of ideas.